I would have finished it, but I was too busy chatting to these guys. We filled the break with some fantastic chat that some of it can't be repeated. Welcome back from me, Alan Biggs, to Talking Sheffield this Thursday night with James Shield, Sheffield United reporter from the Sheffield Star, with Jon McClure, the Reverend from Reverend And The Makers, and with James Gregg, who's been on holiday. I'm glad to see you back.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, welcome back. He's been away for a fortnight. And I was pleased to see my box-to-box midfielder return, because a number of times I was up and down those stairs fetching the guests over there. Yeah, so I'm a bit fitter. What's all this then?
Mine's a cocktail.
Right.
I saw you guys on the beers, and I thought, I've got to bring a cocktail in. It's not really. It's just watermelon juice.
Just watermelon juice.
I promise as well.
Very boring. Right. Yeah. Craig SUFC Anderson says that you two look like brothers on Twitter here.
Something water in there. Good-looking lads up here.
This bit, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, we'll come back.
You want to catch up with it later, look. Yeah.
Hey, we'll come back to you in a minute. James, what's going on? You've had to catch up, of course.
I've had to catch up. I've actually not seen any local football yet. My first game will be at Bramall Lane this weekend, so I look forward to that very much. I'm sure we'll come on to that a little bit later on with James. We'll start off local roundup with cricket. Sheffield Collegiate, they looked down and out at the weekend when they were playing against Rotherham Town in the Yorkshire Premier League. A final wicket stand of 63 from Luke Shutt, and captain Matt Dixon helped Sheffield Collegiate turn that one around. Talk about nerves, fantastic stuff from them, and they play against Castleford this weekend. Sheffield United welcome Driffield to Bawtry Road this weekend. They'll be looking to do the double over them, like they did the double over Appleby last weekend as well. England they're already home and dry in the Ashes, but it was a little bit damp today at the Oval as Sheffield's Joe Root hopes to pile on some more runs and finish the Ashes series in style, of course, which they've already won. So well done to them, and good luck for the rest of that test match, that final test match. Of course, we've still got the ODIs to come as well, so if they're anything like the ones against New Zealand, it'll be terribly exciting as well. Mark Aston in Rugby League won't have been expecting a lot more, but it's still heartbreaking nonetheless to see that Sheffield Eagles have recorded their first back-to-back defeats so far this season, and it couldn't have come at a worse time in the Super 8. That's the middle 8 between the bottom 4 of the Super League and the top 4 of the Championship. What a shame for them, but they play against Halifax this weekend at the Keepmoat Stadium, so hopefully they can turn things around and maybe just get a bit more money in. That's probably the main thing for them as they turn professional next season, and Halifax, who they play against at the weekend, are the other semi-professional side, so money is the factor this weekend in the Rugby League. Move on to golf now, amateur golf locally, and Sam Haywood, who may be a name familiar to many people who follow amateur golf, he won the Lee Westwood Trophy at Rotherham, and he actually caddies for Pete Uline on the European Tour, so he's perhaps shown his boss how to do it when he returns to caddy for Pete next week. But that's a really big achievement for him, because I know he doesn't play much golf anymore, so to come back and win a massive world ranking event like that is no mean feat at all. And also Matt Fitzpatrick in action at the Made in Denmark Open this week, and he's opened up with a round of 2 under par, which leaves him tied 30th. We'll move on to football now. Finish off Sheffield Wednesday travel to Leeds for the fierce Yorkshire derby at the weekend. I've heard that they were absolutely woeful on Tuesday night. I'm sure you guys
can confirm.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we won't go into that too much, and it definitely doesn't give me any pleasure to say that. Hallam FC will aim to make it 5 from 5 when they play against Penistone this weekend. They've won their opening 4 games of the season, the top of their division by 3 points, 12 from 12 points. Fantastic stuff. Great start from Ryan Hindley.
Well
that
done,
man,
Ryan.
he works magic, doesn't he, that fella? And Sheffield United, of course, welcome Blackpool to Bramall Lane, where Mr. Shield, you'll be looking forward to that one, won't you?
Certainly am. The Balti pies are back on the menu as well.
Are they?
In the press room, so that's,
This is key, you know.
Doubly looking forward to it.
When we do our research, for games, John, it's not the previous team and the lineup. We have to check what the catering's like in the.
I enjoyed my first pie at Hillsborough last week.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan, but if they are doing a chicken curry pie, and it's reasonable actually.
Yeah. We've insisted that the Thai owner has come in, and we with all due respect to Thai cuisine, we want to retain our. The request was unanimous, wasn't it, from journalists? We want to retain our pie and chips. pre-match at Hillsborough.
You might get a little Thai green curry or a som tam salad just to spice things up.
Oh, no, it's very nice.
I actually got caught out when they unveiled Carlos Carvalhal as a manager. I was there doing some radio work at the opening press conference, and I was there sort of shoveling loads of chips and Hendersons on my pie and all that kind of stuff. And it was a BBC. They actually caught me on camera, and I switched the 10 o'clock news on, and there I was, stuffing my face with this pie and peas. Great, thanks for that one. Yeah, terrible.
Great appearance, yeah. Yeah, it's funny at press conferences, you do suddenly catch yourself, don't you? You must have been on many times at press conferences. What do you think of Carlos?
I think he was a really good bloke. I thought from the way he was, he's got a twinkle in his eye, he knows... Obviously knows his football, and he made a really good point to me actually. He said that I wasn't a big name player who then went, retired and then moved straight to a big club. I had to sort of cut the cloth basically in the third division of Portuguese football, and the second, and then moved up to the first division, and then obviously been at a whole host of clubs since. But I think he said that his dream was always to play and manage and stuff in England, because that's what he'd grown up watching. And I actually believed him. Usually when they say I've always wanted to manage this club, and you sort of take it with a pinch of salt. With that, he looked me straight in the eye, and I thought, yeah, he probably did.
Low-level player, another similarity with Jose.
Yeah, he's a hit with the ladies as well, is Carlos.
Is that right?
He's very dapper. He's not unlike my auntie's taken a Bulgarian lover, and they're very similar looking. I saw a tweet online last week, and it was Carlos in his suit, looking great, sharp. Yeah. And there's a bar in town called Maggie Mae's, populated by, how can I put it kindly, older ladies. And this tweet said, "Look at Carlos, he's smooth, he'd clean up in Maggie Mae's." He's definitely got a bit of a suave air about him.
It's the Viali Cardi.
That's it,
isn't it?
That's the one.
Yeah. Right, but is he a good coach?
I think. Who cares after that?
Jury's out. He's certainly popular with the ladies of Sheffield.
He was interesting last night, because you get standard answers to standard questions, where what went wrong and that kind of thing, and well, we didn't turn up today, but you want to know why. And I asked him, can you explain it? And he took the trouble, for which I was grateful and colleagues were, to go a little bit technical and say, well, our big problem was that our fullbacks, we were being bossed in midfield. In fact, he didn't use that word, but dominated in midfield. And our fullbacks weren't getting in there, he said. They weren't pushing forward. Hunt was in the opening stages. He was on that right-hand side with Wallace for the first 10 minutes, backed off. But you didn't see either of them really go forward after that, did you?
I think we struggled, particularly at left-back. Helan was abysmal at Ipswich. Yeah. He's got all the ability, Helan, but for some reason just never seems to perform. Wiggins, I thought Wiggins were better, personally. I don't know if you obviously disagree with Carlos. He's a footballing man.
He's a better defensive player, you would say.
Yeah, you probably don't get as much going forward. The great frustration with Helan for me is that he's got the pace and skill to beat an opponent, but never seems to want to try. And Hunt, wonderful going forward. We used to sing about Lewis Buxton, he's a white cafu. Like, Hunt really is a white cafu, but he's slightly suspect going back, defensively for me. There were a number, even against Bristol, I said to my brother, there's a ball played over Hunt's head every time, and we're susceptible.
Right, be interesting to see how it all fits, because you look at it last night and it was all like skillful flair players. Lopez, Matthias was there, McGugan, Wallace. It was only Hutchinson really, a bread and butter sort of midfield player. So clearly the blend was wrong. Just before we go back to Al's events, James, Jamie Murphy, it was a bit of a hue and cry, wasn't there? Which has virtually been forgotten in the space of a few days. Came on the eve of the first home league game against Chesterfield. Jamie Murphy, never great news for fans to accept when one of your best players is sold. How do you see it?
Do you know what? I think we found out on Saturday why it perhaps isn't such a bad deal with Che Adams scoring 2 goals. Yeah. Because I think had Che Adams not been there, and before I say this, listen, Sheffield United, they're not as strong a squad without Jamie Murphy. There's no point in pretending otherwise. But they've got 1.7 million, so we understand, for a League One player going into the Championship. That's good money. That's good business. I mean, that's sort of comparable to what Antonio commanded when he went to Forest Championship to Championship. So it's good money, and they've got a guy in there who, at some point, I think potentially is going to be a better player than Jamie. No disrespect to him, and you've got to give him room to breathe. You saw at Gillingham, I think the general feeling behind the scenes at Bramall Lane is that this kid's going to turn out to be a centre forward at some point.
Right.
But you know, when we were talking earlier about, you've got to learn the division, you've got to learn the trade, you've got to learn about what's around you. And you just saw at Gillingham, he got a little bit lost with a great big sort of, wizened, gnarly, nasty centre half up his what's it, throughout the game. And you didn't see a great deal of him. He goes out wide, a little bit more space, bang, there you are, 2 goals. So I think had they sold Jamie Murphy without Che Adams being in place, I think it would have been a terrible deal. But there was always going to come a point where you've got to let this kid off the leash. And now this is an opportunity for him. And I think the other thing where they can rely on Che, and I just wonder if last season maybe Jamie had reached his sort of potential at that football club. And I wonder if he perhaps needed a new sort of challenge as well. He's made noises since he's gone about wanting to get into the Scotland squad and feeling that a move to the Championship. I saw your
story on that.
Yeah, he's going to sort of help him achieve that.
I saw his debut for Brighton. He had 20 minutes or so off the bench at Huddersfield on Tuesday. 1-1. Very impressive.
He's a
very
great player.
Impressive.
He's a great player. Yeah. But I think perhaps he needed a new challenge. And the one great thing about Che Adams is, and you can't say this about Jamie towards the back end of last year, when they really needed their big, name players to turn up, too often Jamie didn't towards the back end of the season. Now, for whatever reason, be it injury, fatigue or whatever, but, he didn't really show what he's capable of. The one great thing about Che Adams is, you stick him in a big game, that kid turns up every time.
As he's proved against Tottenham quite a number of times.
There's a swagger about him. It's almost like, hey, this is what I was born to do. This is what I've worked hard to do.
And the cash. Managers don't like talking about how much they can spend for obvious reasons. We understand that. Is it all available or a portion of that?
Yeah, so I'm led to believe it's all available.
All of it?
Yeah.
Is he going to go in the transfer market?
I think, he's looking for, a couple, certainly one. He's made that clear before the end of the window. They've spent some decent money. I would imagine. He may well have changed his mind now. I think with Neil Collins possibly being out, he might look at a centre half. So you might be looking at 2, possibly full back again with the problems with sort of Bob Harris. Although Kieran Wallace has done ever so well in there. I think those are probably the 2 sort of areas of.
Call me an old cynic. I'd be surprised if all the £1.7 million gets spent, because that's not normal form. Well, because they've already invested heavily in Billy Sharp.
But and Connor Salmon, of course, on loan. There's no such thing as a free loan anymore. No. That's a transfer market within a transfer market. I can remember Sheffield United with Luke Beckett making, almost sign on the basis that we can make a fortune loaning this kid out in terms of loan fees.
Loan fees, wages.
But it goes on wages as well. But I don't think there's any need to blow it all in one go anyway.
And Nigel Adkins was always going to say, I don't want to see this player go, because no manager ever says, I want him to go. Why would he? To lose one of his best players.
I'm sure he was rather still there.
Yeah.
Listen, and you've got the choice to make.
Was he the captain as well?
No.
Who was the captain?
Joe McClure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was slightly controversial. We'll perhaps come to that. But leading on, just before we go back to John, so the next question, having talked Jamie Murphy and talked about Che Adams, he's out of contract at the end of the coming season. So I think I've seen in Sheffield Star today reference to a new contract
with Che.
Yes.
Yeah. They'll get that sorted out. I've got no doubts about it. And don't read anything between the lines of it. They did the same thing with Jamie Murphy, of course. And the club's got to reward the player. There's no doubt about that, because I'm sure he's surpassed. What's he been there, 9 months?
Yeah.
From non-league. I'm sure he's exceeded their expectations. They've got to reward the player, and they've got to protect themselves as well. So I'm sure, as they've done with Lewis Reed as well, that's something that they're going to.
Are you at the Lane on Saturday?
I will be at the Lane on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it, really. I saw them in pre-season against Newcastle, which I know was a testimonial game, and Newcastle weren't really at the races, but Adams again did look really, really strong.
That's telling. Against that opposition.
It was, and also from last season, I remember speaking about it with you, James, as well, that one up front was frustrating a lot of Blades fans, and a lot of the time it was Mark McNulty or someone isolated up front. And now you've got 3, 4 quality goal scorers. You know, Salmon, I thought, he's going to be a target man, not score many goals. Well, he scored 2 goals on Tuesday night. Brilliant. And
it's confounded the opinion on that, because I said that.
He's got a lovely
fish.
Feed the fish.
Yeah. He's got a lovely touch as well for a bit. I mean, it's stretching the point too far. But it's like the Ali of League One. He's sort of, he's a heavyweight, but he floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee, doesn't he?
I'm glad you said that. I had stick the other night from a colleague from Derby who said, I was chuckling at your Sheffield Telegraph column. He said, when you said that Connor Salmon was good at holding the ball up and leading the line. And he said, he's not. He's got, he described what he thought his first touch was like in unrepeatable terms, and was kind of poo-pooing this. But you've actually said you think he's got a good touch, so
you're with me on that.
It looked like
it so far,
The thing that always makes us Wednesdayites very envious, especially like in the last few years, is the youth system at Sheffield United seems to be like producing a lot more like players than Wednesdays. I mean, we've got Wildsmith, who's played a couple of times,
and just Lavery. Lavery's not had the greatest.
One of my cousins is a coach for Sheffield United for youth system and stuff, and he says there's some great players coming through, and you just wonder whether that's being replicated at Hillsborough, because we don't seem to have had many players come through.
Not as many, for sure. So you're a performer. Do you always identify with other performers, regardless of whether it's music, football, squash, you name it?
I get like mad. I love sport and footballers. Musicians, I'm like, I see them as equals, and I know the magic behind music. I know I know how they do it. Do you understand what I mean? Whereas football,
you can understand it immediately just watching.
Yeah, it's like you might play. I might meet someone like Stevie Wonder. All right, you play to more people than me. You've wrote loads of better songs than me, but I still get what you do. You write a song when you go and play it, and although it's wonderful to meet them people, I met Paul McCartney last year. Wonderful, amazing, but he's a musician like I am. Whereas footballers, I'm like, oh God. Like I get more starstruck by footballers as well. I met Bruce Grobbelaar once at a festival, and he's with this like stunning girl. I'm like, oh Bruce, such an honour to meet you, man. I says, you're a legend. He went, yeah, I am, aren't I? And I'm like, all right. But yeah, I don't.
He didn't say the same to you then?
No, and I don't think he's a Makers fan. I think he's more of a heavy metal fan, Bruce, unfortunately. But we do have footballers come and watch us sometimes, occasionally, and I love that because I have that mutual respect with them. I love what they do, and they, I guess, like what we do, which is wonderful. Richie Humphries, he's the big music man round here, footballing music man. Loves his music, Richie. Yeah.
So he comes to your gigs quite a lot.
Yeah.
But by and large, just the point I was making before the break, you pretty well know what you're going to get. Makers fans pretty well know, unless it's a bad night or you have technical problems. But when you go to that football match, none of us know what we're going to get, do we?
You can only beat yourself in a gig, whereas you've got 11 opponents at football, aren't you? And if they're having a good match and you're not, you're going to get hammered, aren't you?
What do you like watching then? Are you one of these shouters and ballers, or do you just sit there and take it?
I get a bit. Yeah, it depends where I'm sat, because last few seasons we've been at South Stand and it's all a bit prawn sandwich in it and a bit like that. So I've gone back on North Stand or Cantilever, as I like to call. You never hear old men calling it a cantilever these days, don't you? But we've gone back on North, so I've been a bit more vocal since I've been on North. Yeah. But it's difficult with Wednesday. It's frustrating. It's a frustration, isn't there? Especially like under Dave Jones and Megson. I found that period very frustrating for Wednesday, because the football weren't exactly sparkling, were it? But I liked Gray, and I kept my mouth shut under Gray because I liked him. And I'm hoping we have to give Carl
our chance. We all liked him.
I'm not a booer though, like you said. I don't boo. I'm not into that. I don't get on the backs like that in that respect. But
do you get any of that at your gigs?
Booing? No, none of that.
Only on Twitter then, because I've seen you have a little spar today.
Yeah, I get people on Twitter. I'm quite an opinionated fellow, or I have been, and I do get people who become emboldened by the anonymity that Twitter affords you, and they fancy like giving you a bit of grief and that kind of thing. But keyboard warriors, we call them.
We do.
Yeah, plenty of them.
We've made a living out of that, Alan.
Yeah. That's what we are, best ignored. James, Sheffield United v Blackpool, dare I say, an absolute home banker. Oh, either James.
You first.
Go on.
Well, James actually made a point that their 15-year-old striker will probably come on fresh off his GCSE results and score 3 goals at the weekend. But I don't know. I'd like to think that they're on a bit of a roll now. Obviously, I've not seen them play yet, so I feel like one of those people who ring up football heaven and say they were rubbish when they've just listened to it on the radio.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, they've been very good, and I think the momentum's key, isn't it? As much as people don't really see it in sport, I do see it as quite an important thing. So I think coming off the back of 2 good results, 3-1 at Peterborough, who are a good organised side, and they'll probably finish in the top 10 this season, if not more, if not better.
Blackpool banana skin? No.
Well, I mean, listen.
Every team is, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's League One. It's the football. I mean, there's often tiny, tiny little amounts between all the teams. But I don't wish to tempt fate. But the one thing that's nice about United at the moment, they've just got a little. They look like they've got a little bit of swagger. And last season, everybody's thinking when it's going on, listen, you're a better team than this. Yeah, there might be a few faults, but you're not a bad team. And the last sort of 10, 12 days, you're looking at 11 players, including the subs, of course, but who actually think, do you know what? Yeah, we are. And they've just got they can score goals.
But that was a problem on the opening day, though, wasn't it? Well, we're a good team.
It was.
Lose 4-0.
It was, but as we said earlier, I think they've learned something from that. I mean, it's early days. We've sat here and said this about United for the last 4 seasons, haven't we? So there's plenty of time for it to go wrong, and hopefully it won't. But they do. They've just got that. There's a confidence about, and there's a nice little swagger there. And there was a key moment the other night against Peterborough when they were on top. They should have probably been ahead by a couple more. Peterborough clawed it back. And rather than seeing sort of the confidence visibly drained from them, it was almost just like, right, OK then, have some of this.
All right.
I think there is that thing as well that comes with it very quickly, is that at Bramall Lane, and you hear this a lot, but I actually, from watching a lot of home games last season, is that teams do come to Bramall Lane and treat it as a FA Cup game, and a big game, and they shut up shop and they prevent us from scoring, and they go down. Gillingham at home last season, we opened the scoring, and then when they equalised, you could see they just did not deserve an equaliser, and they're all sliding on the knees towards the away fans. Unbelievable. It was like a cup final. Yeah,
a big
absolutely.
Game. Undoubtedly a big game. Alan, are you going to Elland Road on Saturday?
I'm not. I'm playing at V Festival this weekend, so I'm going to miss
You're working instead.
the trip to Leeds. Although I don't really like to go to Leeds. I find that I feel tense in Leeds. I need to think. Yeah. It's not a place I enjoy going to. Okay. Not. You're
going to have to be diplomatic. You work for Radio Air.
No, not the city. The city of Leeds. I used to live in Leeds. The city of Leeds, fine. It's just I don't really like going to watch football at Leeds. I just find it a bit
heavy.
I have I feel more of a rivalry sometimes with Leeds than I do Sheffield United. Even I just really want to beat them.
You're not alone there, probably.
Yeah.
And what result-wise, if you'd have seen Tuesday, there's only one result they're going to lose. But I don't necessarily believe that.
It's, again, like you're saying about League One, the Championship, there's such fine margins between a lot of these sides that it makes you reluctant to ever pick a winner, because I would have thought Wednesday would have played Reading off the park the other night, and they were terrible. So
I didn't think that, but I thought it would be an even game, and I thought they'd really have a go. And that's all fans want at the end of the day. I don't think the Owls fans are that demanding. They're not saying you must be in the top 6. They just want to see an improvement and exciting football.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is I can't see any teams hammering us this season, for the reason being that we keep the ball very well.
Yeah, and it's been brilliant. Time's gone. I've nearly finished this. I might have one across the road. 7 p.m, 11 p.m. tonight for a repeat of this show. If you've missed on any of it, well worth a watch. Talking of Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds, John Newsom among our guests next week. Thanks to James and to John and James. See you next week. Bye.